He has a PhD in computer science from UC Berkeley, and before that, he did his master's from Michigan State University. Post his PhD, he's worked at Berkeley National Labs. Currently, he's busy trying to get his startup off ground, and he's also a researcher at the Sadhguru Center for a Conscious Planet. Sadhguru Center for a Conscious Planet was established in 2020 by the Department of Anesthesia, Critical Care, and Pain Medicine at Beth Israel Medical Center. It's a part of the Harvard Medical School. So this research group uses scientific approach to integrate medical and contemplative sciences to improve patient care. On a side note, Mayur is a good friend and several times has given me the right push to get into meditation practices. Thank you, Mayur, for joining us today.
Thank you, Partha. Thank you, Pawan Siddharth, for having me here.
We also have Akshaj. Akshaj is a young researcher. He has a bachelor's degree from, again, University of California, Berkeley. He studied neurobiology. Right now, he's in Boston, working at the Beth Israel Medical Center as a clinical research assistant. Akshaj was born in India and has lived in Singapore and USA. His research interests include the science and philosophy of consciousness. Having said that, we'll jump right into the conversation. Mayur, we'll start with you if that's okay. To begin with, can you please tell us a little about yourself, where you grew up, what led you to scientific research, a PhD?
Thanks, Partha. Yeah. So I grew up in the city called Madras, which is how I like to think of it, but it's also called Chennai. And I spent most of my life there. I briefly did my high school in Baroda in the Northwest. Um, in terms of my and then I came to US for my master's in computer science, and then to Berkeley, where I slowly started pivoting into neuroscience. My thematic interest was always artificial intelligence, but I was somewhat disillusioned by how uh, artificial intelligence thought about intelligence. And then the recurring theme in all my work was vision and motor systems. So meditation was a bit of a far cry when I started. And then as I got to Berkeley, the community is just extremely vibrant, and you have so much. It's a very rich, fertile land intellectually. So I just got to immerse myself in so many different topics, and that's how I got to Berkeley, and then eventually at some point during my PhD, I felt I required tools that were going to help me be more productive or more joyful more than anything else. I was actually briefly considering dropping out of my PhD. It was a whole year, and then that's when I happened to discover Sadhguru, or more accurately, Sadhguru happened to discover me, and then and that opened up my journey with Sadhguru and Isha and meditation. Until then, I can tell more about that if you want to talk about it. But yeah, does that sound like an overview?
Yeah, that's a good start, I'd say. We can get more into that. But before we move to Akshaj, could you also give us just like a short overview about Sadhguru Center for a Conscious Planet?
Absolutely. So this evolved. Uh, it has a very cute, fun, long evolution, and I think you might get the unabridged version whenever you get Bala to come on here. But I can give you a version of it, at least the way, or it's like my first person view of things. So I was, at the ashram and going through a certain process when I met another researcher and medical professional who has also been instrumental in getting this off the ground. And he was looking to get something. The prior version of the Sadhguru Center is called the Isha Research Center. And so, and then he connected Bala and myself and a few other researchers, and then we got that off the ground. And then uh, it, we still felt there was a need for a center or an institute that could really push this, hard and tackle some of the more challenging problems. And that's how Sadhguru Center came to be last year. And thanks to, large part due to Bala and of course, Sadhguru and the Isha Foundation. So it's been established as a center with three main aims: is looking at cognition, consciousness, and compassion as the three pillars of research that we want to pursue. And it is looking to be a platform where uh, to support people who want to pursue this line of research going forward. So we are hoping that other researchers will come forward with their specific expertise, and then explore how meditation and yoga can be tools for addressing things in their particular subtopic, or something that they can collaborate together and work on larger problems. For example, we are considering an application for people with stuttering and yoga. We have projects running on sleep and yoga, and we have
Wow.
projects on nurses health and patient healthcare and so on. The full list will probably take a while, but
Yeah.
that's just to give you a sample of things.
Sounds good. Thanks, Mayur. Akshaj, you'd mentioned that you were born in India and went to school in Singapore for a while as well, and then you moved to US. Can you please share with us your journey to UC Berkeley, how you got interested in neurobiology, meditation?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me, first of all. So, yes, as you said, I was born in India. I moved to Singapore when I was about 10 and lived there till I was about 16. And then I came to the US and I've been in the US ever since. So, I was always interested in biology, um, generally speaking, but neurobiology really piqued my interest when I sort of realized that that's, as far as we know, that's sort of the basis of our experience here. And in terms of my understanding, it's sort of one of the areas where there's a lot of exciting work has been done in the last few decades, and a lot more is still left, which I'm sure every researcher says about their field. But I was particularly interested in the nervous system. So that was an interest from the beginning. Why I got interested in meditation? Well, I was always interested sort of intuitively in meditation. I tried to do some sort of Buddhist meditations in middle school, and when I was in college, and I sort of let it go, focused on my studies. But when I was in college, that interest sort of reignited again when I saw YouTube videos of Sadhguru actually. So it made sort of perfect sense to sort of combine those two interests, because there's a lot that sort of contemplative traditions have said about consciousness, about your thought process, about uh, fundamentally what the nature of experience is. And that's also the same questions that neuroscience is trying to get at.
Sounds good. In fact, in the description of the Sadhguru Center for a Conscious Planet, they actually say, that's the first time I've heard them use the word contemplative sciences, which is very fascinating. Um, Mayur, before we get into the science part and about the research that you and Akshaj do, how did you get into spirituality? It seems like you come from a, I mean, I'm not trying to stereotype you, but you seem to come from a fairly scientific background in terms of the work you chose and the work environment you were in. How did spirituality come about? Were your parents, was your family religious, spiritual? How did that happen?
That's a good question. Uh, I'm trying to look back. Yeah, so it's so both my parents are meditators.